All right, let's dive in. You know, when you think of a pet, you probably picture a cat or a dog. But there's this whole other world out there, the world of exotic pets. And it is absolutely fascinating, way bigger than you might think, and honestly, pretty complex. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this industry, we'll meet some amazing animals, and get into the really tough questions about what it takes and what it means to bring something a little bit wild into your home.
Okay, so let's just start with this number right here. $15.15 billion. So what is that? Well, that's what the global exotic pets market is expected to be worth in 2025. To give you some perspective, that is huge. We're talking more than the entire global music industry made in some recent years. So yeah, this is not just some niche hobby for a few people. This is a massive, booming business.
So the big question is, why? Why are so many people choosing pets that aren't your typical cat or dog? Well, a big part of it is modern life, right? A lot of us are living in apartments or smaller homes, so a pet that doesn't need a huge backyard just makes sense. But it's more than just that. People are looking for something different, a unique kind of companionship. And you've got this whole new wave of pet owners, what the industry calls a broader, younger, and more connected group who are driving this trend in a big way.
Okay, so maybe you're thinking, this is kind of interesting, but where would you even begin? Let's talk about some of the more accessible entry points, especially if you're in an apartment where, let's be real, space is everything.
First up, let's talk about the rodent crew. Now hold on. I know what you might be picturing, but let's just hit the reset button on that image. We're not talking about something out of the subway. These guys are actually incredibly smart, super clean, and can form really strong bonds with their owners. Honestly, they are some of the most fantastic and seriously underrated companions out there.
Okay, this little chart here is a perfect way to figure out what might fit your lifestyle. So let's say you want a little buddy you can actually teach tricks to and hang out with. A rat is surprisingly smart and social. They'll even chill on your lap. But maybe you've got kids and you want something cuddly that makes these cute little weak noises. A guinea pig's going to be your best bet. They just love to socialize. And hey, if you're someone who's super busy and not home all the time, the hamster is perfect. It's happy on its own and is a really great low-maintenance choice.
All right, let's switch gears to another group that's super popular for apartment living, reptiles. I mean, think about it. If you've got allergies or your landlord has a strict no-noise policy, these guys can be the perfect solution. They're quiet, they don't have fur, so no dander, they won't bark or shed all over your couch. But man, they are just as fascinating to watch and take care of.
So if you're just starting out, you'll hear a lot about lizards like the leopard gecko or the bearded dragon. And for good reason. They have a reputation for being pretty calm and their setups are manageable. But, and this is a big but, there is one thing that is absolutely non-negotiable: hygiene. You have to understand that reptiles can carry salmonella, so it is absolutely crucial that you wash your hands and wash them well every single time after you handle them. No exceptions.
Okay, so we've covered some great starter pets, but now we're going to get into the really dazzling stuff. The animals that kind of fuel this whole fascination in the first place. I'm talking about living, breathing works of art.
Yeah, this quote really nails it, doesn't it? Astonishing hues that will leave you in awe. It really gets to the core of that wow factor. It's not just about having a pet, it's about sharing your space with something that is just genuinely, breathtakingly beautiful.
I mean, look at this. The Panther Chameleon, it's basically a living mood ring, you know? It can shift through this unbelievable rainbow of vibrant colors based on where it is, how it's feeling, just stunning.
And then there's this, the Brazilian rainbow boa. It's not just about that bright orange color, which is gorgeous. The incredible part is this shimmering, almost oily rainbow effect, an iridescence that appears when light catches its scales just right. Seriously, they couldn't have picked a better name for it. What a sight.
And check this little guy out, the electric blue day gecko. It 100% lives up to its name. The males are this just unbelievably intense neon blue color all over their body. It's like they're tiny, living jewels. Just incredible.
Okay, so we've seen the wow factor, we've seen the beauty, but now we have to make a really important pivot here to what is probably the most crucial part of this whole conversation, the reality check, the commitment. Because let's be crystal clear, owning an exotic animal is not a casual hobby.
You know, we hear this phrase thrown around all the time. Oh, it's easy to care for. But what does that really mean? Well, veterinarians have a pretty specific definition. Number one, their housing needs have to be reasonable. 2, a fairly simple diet. 3, their small, manageable size.
4, they don't need a ton of constant attention, and 5, they have a low potential for, completely destroying your house. It's a lot more than just remembering to feed it, right?
And that brings us to one of the biggest myths out there, that these beautiful animals are basically just living decorations. That could not be further from the truth. The reality is that many of them need incredibly specialized care. Take a ball python, for instance. You need precise climate control. That means managing humidity, creating warm basking spots in cooler zones. You need to get them specialized food. And you need a vet who actually knows how to treat a reptile, which isn't always easy to find.
So here's the bottom line. A lot of exotic animals are they're not suitable pets for the average person. It's that simple. When you start talking about primates like monkeys or sloths, wallabies, big wild cats, these animals require incredibly complex diets, huge specialized enclosures, and an amount of attention that is just about impossible to give them in a normal home. The hard reality is that some animals just shouldn't be pets, period.
Okay, for our last section, let's zoom all the way out. It's time to talk about the bigger picture here, the really heavy stuff, the ethics and the conservation issues that loom over this entire industry.
To really understand what's at stake, I want to introduce you to a specific animal. This is the emerald alligator lizard. Just look at it. It comes from the cloud forests of Mexico, and it spends most of its life way up in the trees. And it is, there's no other way to say it, an absolutely stunning creature.
And here's the heartbreaking part. This species is endangered. And you want to know the main reasons why? Number 1, deforestation. Their forest home is being destroyed for farming. And number 2, people are capturing them in the wild to sell them as pets. The very thing that makes them so beautiful, that demand from people who want to own them, is helping to push them toward extinction.
So, this brings us to what might be the single most important point of this whole thing. If, and it's a big if you are ever going to consider getting an exotic pet, there is only one responsible way to do it. You have to source it from a trusted, reputable, captive breeder. That's it. That's how you, as a potential owner, make sure you aren't funding the illegal poaching that is devastating wild populations of animals just like that beautiful lizard we just saw.
And so that leaves us with this final, really powerful question to think about. When you see an exotic animal, it's so important to look past just the cool pet factor. You really have to think about the story behind it. Where did it come from? What was the journey it took to get here? What kind of impact does your choice have, not just in your home, but around the world? The real question isn't just, can I own this? It's, should I? And honestly, the answer to that question, well, it can make all the difference in the world for